This video briefly describes the official forms that are required to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The first form is called the voluntary petition. On this form you must type in your name, any other names you've used within the last 8 years, the last 4 digits of your social security number, and the address where you physically reside. Then you'll need to type in the county of your residence and your mailing address, if different from your home address. If you're filing jointly with a spouse, you'll need to type in your spouse's information on the right side. This section here where it says location of principal assets of business debtor, that is normally left blank on a consumer case. Where it says type of debtor, you'd check the box where it says individual. Nature of business, you'd leave that section blank. Tax exempt entity, you'd leave this section blank. Chapter of bankruptcy code under which the petition is filed, you'd check the box next to Chapter 7. Where it says nature of debts, you'd almost always check the box next to where it says debts are primarily consumer debts. The only time that you'd check the other box over here where it says debts are primarily business debts is if more than 50% of the debts that you're listing on your bankruptcy are business-related debts. Right here where it says filing fee, if you're going to pay the filing fee in full at the time of filing, you check the box, the first box that says full filing fee attached. If you're going to apply to pay the filing fee in installments, then you'd check the second box. If you're going to apply for a waiver of the filing fee, if your income is not more than 150% of the federal poverty level for your family size, you would be eligible for a waiver of the filing fee. You'd check the third box. Over here where it says Chapter 11 debtors, you'd leave this whole section blank. That's not applicable. All the statistical administrative information that is normally filled in for you pretty much automatically. You don't have to fill that in. The software will fill it in. Page 2 of the voluntary petition, it'll ask you if you've had any prior bankruptcy cases that you filed within the last 8 years. If so, you'd list the location of the bankruptcy court where you filed it, the case number, and the date filed. If none, then you just type in none or just leave it blank. And you'd come down here to Exhibit D. You'd check the top box where it says Exhibit D next to Exhibit D to indicate that you've completed pre-bankruptcy counseling prior to filing bankruptcy. Any individual who files bankruptcy after October 2005 has to complete pre-bankruptcy counseling before they can file bankruptcy. It takes about an hour, hour and a half. You can do it online, and it costs $5. If you're filing jointly with a spouse, then you check the second box to indicate that your spouse has also completed pre-bankruptcy counseling. Right here where it says information regarding the debtor venue, you check the top box to indicate that you've resided within the bankruptcy court district where you're filing for the majority of the past 6 months. Scroll down to page 3. This is the last page of the voluntary petition. Your name and all that information is automatically copied over here for you. The only thing you type in on page 3 is your phone number. Everything is filled in. All of these other signature blocks are not applicable. So this is basically just a signature page. And then after you fill in the voluntary petition, then you have various schedules A through J that you have to fill in. Schedule A, real property, is basically any real estate that you own or that you're purchasing. If you own any real estate or you're purchasing any real estate, you just type in the address of the property. Indicate whether you own it jointly with your spouse by putting a J, or if you're married, H. If the husband owns it, just put an H. If the wife owns it, put a W. You list the current value of the property, the approximate value of the property, the amount of any secured claims on the property. That would be the total amount of any mortgages or other liens on the property. If you have a first mortgage and a second mortgage, you just total them all up and put the total there. On Schedule B is personal property. Any property that you own other than real property is called personal property. And as you see, they have various categories on the left here, different types of property. The first category here, cash on hand. That's cash that's in your pocket or in your purse. I normally don't put that. It doesn't really stay in your purse or in your pocket very long. Checking or savings accounts or any kind of bank accounts that you have. If you have a checking or savings account, you list it here. You just put the total combined value here, and you put a J, H, or W to indicate whether it's jointly owned by your spouse and yourself, or whether the wife owns it or the husband owns it. Down here where it says household goods and furnishings, just put a basic description of the big valuable things in your house: living room, dining room set, televisions, and just various other household furnishings. You don't have to list every little minute property that you own. Just a description of the big things in your house. And then you'd list the garage sale value, basically an estimate of the garage sale value. Here it says wearing apparel is various clothing that you used by the debtors, and a garage sale value. Furs and jewelry, you may not have any furs, but if you have any jewelry, you'd list a brief description of what your jewelry is and an estimated value here. Life insurance policies, if you have any, you'd list them there. If you have any retirement accounts, 401ks, or individual retirement accounts, IRAs, you'd list them here and just put the value here, or the total amount that you have in your 401ks. And a lot of this stuff here is not applicable to most individuals. There's only one set of official bankruptcy forms in the United States. It doesn't matter if you're Enron or MCI or just a small, just a regular individual. Everybody uses the same form. So a lot of this stuff here on this other page here applies mostly to corporations and businesses and not so much to individuals. Here where it says automobiles, trucks, trailers, and other vehicles, if you have any vehicles that you own or that you're purchasing, you'd list them here, the year, make, and model, and then the value. And basically you'd list the retail value from the Kelley Blue Book or the NADA used car pricing guides. And if the car is in bad shape, then you can just kind of estimate the value. Schedule C is property claimed as exempt. All of the property that you just filled in on Schedule A and Schedule B, if you want to keep that property, then you check a box on the software that says that you're claiming as exempt. A little box will pop up and it'll ask you which state that you're in, and you can claim it as exempt. When you claim something as exempt, it means that you're there's a law in your state that says that you get to keep it, that type of property is off limits to creditors, and you get to keep it. There's under this code here, which is referring to the California Code of Civil Procedure in California, you have a household goods exemption, various stuff in your house that is exempt. You have a closings exemptions, jewelry exemptions, different laws, and they differ from state to state. This form, fortunately, is filled in for you almost automatically, based on what state that you're in. So fortunately, you don't have to fill all that in manually. Schedule D is creditors holding secured claims. If you have any creditors that have collateral, such as a mortgage on your house or a lien on your car, or sometimes maybe a computer purchase, something or furniture that you're buying that they still have a security interest or a lien on until you pay for it, then they have collateral. So you'd list those creditors here. You just list their name and address, the account number or the last 4 digits if you want, and then when it was incurred or the date it was opened. You can put approximately if you're not sure, and just a brief description of what it is: a mortgage on your residence, a lien on your car. Then you'll list the current balance of what's owed here. Schedule Schedule E is creditors holding unsecured priority claims. Certain types of debts have priority in bankruptcy, and usually priority debts are normally non-dischargeable, which means you can't get rid of them, but you still have to list them for informational purposes. Here, in a consumer case, usually there's 2 main types of priority debts. Domestic support obligations would be past due child support or alimony. If it's current, you don't list it here, but if you have a past due arrearage, for child support or alimony that you owe to someone, you'd list it here. You check the box and you just fill in the creditor's name and address and information. If you owe any state or federal income taxes that are past due, that are less than 3 years old, or that you did not file a tax return for at least 2 years ago, then you check the box here and list it here. And we have a video that goes into the little more detail that tells you, about the priority debts and stuff. And by the way, if you don't have any priority debts, you just check the box here that says that you don't have any. Schedule F, creditors holding unsecured non-priority claims. If it doesn't go on Schedule D because there's no, there's no collateral, and it does not go on Schedule E because it's not a priority debt, meaning it's not child support or alimony or taxes that are less than 3 years old, then it probably goes here on Schedule F. Most of your debts will probably go here as an unsecured claim. This would include, debts that are not secured by collateral, such as credit cards, medical bills, court judgments, student loans. A lot of people think that a student loan is a priority debt. It's not a priority debt. It's just an ordinary unsecured debt that happens to be non-dischargeable in most cases, but student loans would be listed on Schedule F. And then here's a a continuation sheet for Schedule F. If you have any other debts that won't fit on that page, you list them all here. If you've got plenty of pages, credit cards, utility bills. If you have an automobile loan that's been a car that's been repossessed that you still owe money for, a deficiency balance, that's an unsecured debt now. Since they've already repossessed the car, that debt would be unsecured and it would be wiped out as well. You'd list it here. It'll give you a grand total here automatically. Schedule G is executory contracts and unexpired leases. If you have a health and fitness club membership that's continuing in nature, that maybe you signed a 1-year contract or something, or if you have a car lease or apartment or house lease, then you list it here. Here it's got Toyota Motor Credit, which is the name of the leasing company, the creditor, and just a brief description of the contract or the lease. Here we've got 48-month lease of 2009 Toyota Camry LE. And you'll have an opportunity to either keep that lease in effect by assuming it later on in the forms, or you can reject the lease, you can break the lease, and you'll have no further liability on it. Schedule H is co-debtors. If you have any co-signers or co-debtors on any of your debts, you just type their name and address here of the co-debtor or co-signer, and then the name and address of the creditor here. If you don't have any co-signers or co-debtors, you just check the box here that says that you don't have any. It's all pretty simple stuff. A lot of the stuff may apply to you, may not. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to fill this in. Schedule I, current income of individual debtors. This is basically just an estimate of your current monthly income. It'll ask for your marital status, and if you have any dependents, it'll ask the relationship of your dependents, son, daughter, whatever, their ages. And then here it'll ask for your employment income. If you're employed, your occupation, the name of your employer, the address, approximately how long you've been employed. Your employer is normally not contacted. It's basically for informational purposes. So here the spouse is unemployed. They're a homemaker, so the homemaker has no income here. This is the debtor's income. This is the spouse's income column here. So right here on line 1, that's employment income. So you'd list an estimate of your total monthly gross income before payroll deductions, your gross. Then here you'd list an estimate of your monthly payroll deductions, payroll taxes, Social Security, insurance, 401k, just whatever comes out of your check as payroll deductions. You list it here, kind of estimate it as best you can off of your pay stubs. It'll automatically calculate your take-home pay here. And then on this section here, in addition to your employment income, or in lieu of your employment income, if you have any other income such as business income or rental income or Social Security or alimony or child support or any other income, you'd list it in this section here. And it'll give you a grand total here. That's your total net monthly income. And then you go to Schedule J, which is the last schedule. Schedule J is current expenditures of individual debtor. That's your current monthly expenses. And it's just a basic list of your monthly living expenses. You don't list credit cards and things like that you're going to wipe out in your bankruptcy. It's just your living expenses, your essential living expenses. Rent or home mortgage payment. If you have a first mortgage and a second mortgage, you just total them up and put the total here. Are real estate taxes included? Yes or no? Is property insurance included? Yes or no? You don't have to go to law school to fill in these forms. It's not that complicated. Then here it's got utilities, electric and heating fuel or gas for your house, water and sewer, telephone. Basically just take the last 12 months and just get the average of what your monthly usage is, or you can do 6 months if you want. Just kind of be as accurate as possible. Food, clothes, laundry, medical and dental expenses, recreation, charitable contributions. You're allowed up to 15% of your gross income for charitable contributions. If you're currently making, like tithing to your church or donations, you can continue that. Insurance, taxes, property taxes, things like that. Installment payments would be automobile loan payments, lease payments, student loan payments, and any other installment payments that are going to continue after the bankruptcy. Again, you don't list credit card debts and things like that on here. Stuff that's going to be wiped out on the bankruptcy, you don't list here. If you're going to keep the car, then you'd list the payment here because you're going to keep making the payment if you want to reaffirm the car and keep it. And then here it'll automatically give you a grand total of your monthly expenses. And then here it'll subtract your monthly expenses from your current net monthly income that you listed on the previous schedule, Schedule I. And it'll tell you what your disposable income is here. That's how much you have left over each month, if any. And sometimes this is a negative number. You may not have anything left over. So if you have a negative income, it doesn't matter. It's okay. And the broker, the better for a Chapter 7. Then this form here is a summary of schedules. Fortunately, you don't have to fill this in. This is all filled in automatically for you. The software fills it in. It just takes all of the totals that you've listed on these schedules A through J and just puts all the totals, just transfers them here and just creates a summary. Statistical summary of certain liabilities and related data. This is all filled in for you automatically. You don't have to fill this in, fortunately. It's just a statistical summary of certain information that the bankruptcy court wants to keep track of for their own purposes. Then you've got a statement of financial affairs, which is basically just questions 1 through 18, just questions regarding your financial affairs. Most people only have to fill in questions 1 through 18. However, if you've owned a business or operated a business within the last 6 years, then you have to fill in questions 1 through 25. Most people only fill in questions 1 through 18. Just basic questions regarding your financial affairs. Question 1 will ask for your gross income for the last 2 years, which you'd get off your W-2s or your tax returns, and also your gross income for the year to date, which is how much you've made so far this year. And you can normally get that off your pay stub. And if you're filing jointly with a spouse, then you'd list their income for the last 2 years as well, plus the year to date as well. Question number 2, if you have any income from any source other than business or employment income, such as Social Security, child support, or something else, then you'd list it here for the last 2 years. Down here, question number 4, if you've been involved in a lawsuit within the last 12 months, if you've sued someone or someone sued you, if you've been a party to a lawsuit within the last 12 months, you'd list it here. Just the title of the lawsuit, Capital One Bank versus John W. Smith, the case number, and a brief description of what the case is about, the nature of the proceeding. Here we've got debt recovery. Court and agency or location, we've just got Los Angeles County Superior Court. The status of the lawsuit will either be pending, dismissed, judgment entered, or whatever the status of the lawsuit is currently. If any of your property has been repossessed or garnished or foreclosed on within the last 12 months, then you'd list it on these questions here. A lot of these questions may not apply to all people, so to most people, as a matter of fact. Number 10, any transfers of property that you've made within the last 2 years. If you sold a house or a car, or you gave something away, anything that you've given away or transferred, whether you sold it or got money for it or not, you list it here on number 10. On number 11, if you've closed any bank accounts within the last 12 months or any financial accounts such as a retirement account or something where you've taken money out, you'd list it here. Number 15, if you have not lived at your current address for 3 years, then you have to list your previous addresses for the last 3 years here. Otherwise, if you've lived at your current address for at least 3 years, you don't have to fill this in. And then number 18 here, this is if you've been an officer, director, partner, or owner of any business within the last 6 years, then you'd list the name of the business, name and address, and that information here. And then this is just a signature section here. You just declare under penalty of perjury that all these answers are true and correct. Your name is automatically there. This is a form called the Chapter 7 Individual Debtor Statement of Intention. Sounds complicated, looks complicated, but it's really very simple. It basically just asks you what's your intention with regard to any debts that you listed on Schedule D, any secured debts that are secured by collateral. Do you want to keep the collateral, the house or the car, or do you want to surrender it? If you want to surrender it and give the house back or give the car back, you check the box that says surrendered here. If you want to keep it and keep making the payments and keep the house and keep the car, you check the box that says retained. And if you're going to retain it, then you normally check the box that says you're going to reaffirm the debt, which means you're going to essentially exclude it from the bankruptcy and you're going to assume the liability and keep making the payments. And if you have cars or house, any other property listed in these sections here. Right here, Part B on this form, this is for leases. So we had a Toyota Motor Credit lease. You need to put the leasing company's name here, and the property. All this will be transferred automatically from the previous schedules where you filled it in. and it'll ask you, will the lease be assumed or will it be rejected? If you want to keep your lease and keep making the payments and keep the car or whatever it is, whether it's apartment or whatever lease, you'd put yes. You're going to assume it, which means that you're basically excluding it from the bankruptcy and you're going to keep your liability and keep making payments. If you want to break the lease, you put no. You will not assume it, and you'll have no further liability on that lease. The second to last form is called the Chapter 7 Chapter 7 Statement of Current Monthly Income and Means Test Calculation. This form looks very complicated. A lot of people think it's very complicated. It's really not. Here it'll ask for your marital and filing status. Here we've got, in this example, married filing jointly. And if you look at the instructions here, it says all figures must reflect average monthly income received from all sources derived during the 6 calendar months prior to filing the bankruptcy case. So on this particular form, you don't list any income for the month that you're filing in. So for example, let's say you're filing bankruptcy in December. Then you don't list any income on this form for the month of December. You take November and 6 months back, 6 full months of income. And that would be the gross, not the net. That's how much you've earned before payroll deductions. So let's say you made $30,000 within the last 6 months. You take that $30,000, divide it by 6 months, divide it by 6 to get the monthly average. And whatever it is, you put it right here. That's your monthly 6-month average right there from employment. Line 3 is employment. And if you have a spouse, you do that for the spouse as well. If you're separated from your spouse, or then if you don't live in the same household, then you would not have to list your spouse's income. If you have any business income or rental income or pension or retirement income or unemployment income, you'd list it on these other lines here. And income from any other source, you'd list right here. You do not include on this form any income that you've received from the Social Security Administration. So if you get retirement income or disability income from the Social Security Administration, any income that you receive from Social Security Administration, you do not list it on this form by law. And then it'll give you a grand total here. That's your 6 months income, including your spouse's income, if any. And then what it does, the software will multiply that income by 12 months and annualize it. So now 6 times 12 months, and now you've got an annual income of $72,000. And then here you'd enter your state of residence, which it'll be entered automatically for you. So here we've got California, and the debtor's household size is 4. There's a husband, the wife, and 2 dependent children. So there's a total of 4 people. As soon as you enter that 4, the median household income for the state of California, for your state and family size, will pop up here. That's the median household income according to the U.S. Census Bureau of what the average income is for 4 people in California. If your income here is less than that, less than the median, then you check the box here that indicates that your income is below the median, and you're all done. You just sign the form. It says complete parts. These parts here. That's basically just the part 8, I believe it is. That's just simply the signature line. So you're exempt from filling this form. You pass the means test. If your income is above the median, then you check this box here that indicates that your income is above the median. Doesn't mean you don't qualify for Chapter 7. Simply means you have to fill out the rest of the form. And most people that fill out the form, end up qualifying anyway. It's pretty easy to qualify. And basically, you just start subtracting your allowable expenses. A lot of these are based on standard deductions, like you're filling out a tax return. Some are based on your actual expenses, food, clothes, all types of things. And when you get to the end, you'll probably be in the hole or pretty close to it, and you'll probably qualify. So we have a very detailed video that shows you exactly how to fill this in. I'd say probably about 15% of people have to fill this in. Most people, that are filing Chapter 7 are below the median. So, and then you just sign it here and date it. And then the last form is pretty simple. All of this will be filled in for you automatically. This is a statement of Social Security number, and basically just asks for your Social Security number. You put your complete Social Security number here, and for here, and then your spouse right here. And that's it. And you just sign it. And then when you're finished completing all of the required forms, you'll need to print and sign the forms, then take or mail them to your local bankruptcy court with the required filing fee. Your bankruptcy will be effective immediately upon filing. If you're applying to pay the filing fee in installments, or if you're applying to to have the filing fee waived because your income is low, then the court could the clerk normally will make a ruling on that. Sometimes a judge does it, but it's usually done by the clerk. So you will not have to mail in a filing fee normally if you're unless you're paying it in full at the time of filing. Once the clerk receives your bankruptcy forms, they'll file your bankruptcy. Your bankruptcy will be effective immediately. They'll assign you a bankruptcy case number, and usually within a couple of days, the bankruptcy court will mail out an official notice of your bankruptcy to all of your creditors that you've listed on your forms, letting them know that you filed bankruptcy. The notice will inform them that the creditor that they're prohibited from contacting you. They can't call you. They can't sue you. They can't foreclose or repossess. Everything is essentially prohibited. You could have a foreclosure sale at 2 o'clock. If you file a bankruptcy 1 minute before the sale, it'll stop the sale. So, everything happens pretty quickly. And then you'll get in the mail, you'll get a notice from the court telling you where and when your trustee meeting is going to be. It's also called a meeting of creditors, but nobody hardly ever shows up on a Chapter 7 case. So you would show up and you'd meet with a bankruptcy trustee who's usually just a private attorney that, usually a former bankruptcy attorney, and they're serving now as a trustee. Your meeting usually lasts about 5 minutes. They'll usually just ask you a few questions about your bankruptcy. You'll have to show some type of a photo ID, like a driver's license, and something verifying your social security number, like a social security card or whatever else you have that'll verify your social security number. And then you leave and you get your final discharge order in the mail that says all of your debts are forgiven. And that's basically the end of your bankruptcy. For automated bankruptcy forms and a step-by-step video which shows you how to prepare and file your own Chapter 7 bankruptcy, visit pardonmydebt.com.